Recognize Senator Elizabeth Steiner, Hayward, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, when, in the course of human events, or Senate events in this case, it becomes necessary for one freshman senator to carry her first bill, and to assume among the powers of a senator the separate and equal station to which the laws of the legislature entitle her, a decent respect for the opinions of her colleagues requires that she should do so in a manner befitting the traditions of this august body. Therefore, colleagues, I rise today to urge your aye vote for House Bill 4015, a simple bill designed to protect children and empower those who care deeply for protecting them by providing them with information about lead toxicity. This session, colleagues, we've seen 87-page bills. We've seen bills with amendment after amendment after amendment. This is House Bill 4015, less than one page, providing very important information. Many of our schools today contain older parts of the building that may have lead-based paint. And we all know that lead toxicity is incredibly risky for our youngest, most vulnerable Oregonians. This bill is not complicated. And in fact, what it does is simplify gaining information that our parents want. I looked around on the web for the information that this bill would ask that OHA provide, and I found it on 14 separate websites. As a parent, I'd like to be able to look at one site for authoritative information so that I could be sure my child would not be a victim of lead toxicity in a place that we assume safe, their schools. This is not complicated. It does not have a fiscal. This is a very straightforward piece of legislation that will allow us to protect the youngest Oregonians. Furthermore, given some of the gunplay that's likely to happen in this building over the next few weeks, it may even protect us. Thank you, colleagues, and I urge your aye vote on House Bill 4015.
Recognize Senator Fred Girard, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question of the carrier?
Would the carrier yield to a question?
Certainly.
Question will. Very well.
Thank you. There's a new study out from OHSU dealing with the concentration of lead in the derriere of rats. I was just kind of curious if you've read that study and what your feelings are about that study.
Thank you to my colleague for bringing up that important point. The colleague from the Santiam Canyon raises the issue of ongoing research that's done on lead toxicity in multiple mammalian species. The issues of whether the relevance of this study to our children, however, remains somewhat unclear to me and will require further research on my part. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the bill.
To the bill, please.
Colleagues, I'm going to be a no on this vote, and the reason for that is there's a lot of fitness gurus now that are promising buns of lead, and I think it's extremely important that we get to the bottom of this, and no bun intended.
Recognize Senator Jeff Cruz, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question of the carrier.
Will the carrier yield to a question, please?
Most certainly.
She will.
Mr. President, I'm just curious as to whether this gives another definition to the term "get the lead out."
My distinguished colleagues from southwestern Oregon brings up a very important point, and the answer is yes, it will.
Okay, to the bill.
To the bill, please.
I don't see a new definition in the bill. That's troubling. Mr. President, I'm going to have a hard time voting for this as a matter of procedure. The carrier of the bill used a visual aid in her presentation without requesting permission of the body to do so.
Recognize Senator Rob Monroe, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the carrier yield, please?
Will the carrier yield, please?
Most certainly.
The carrier will yield.
Does this bill have anything to do with lipstick?
I'd be grateful to my colleague from Mid-Multnomah County if he would clarify the intent of his question a little further.
Well, my understanding is that some famous brands of lipstick include lead.
My distinguished colleague from District 21 would like to know how you know that.
I'm asking the questions here.
Yes,
You
sir.
have to answer them. There have been recent studies that have been published on television in the news indicating that there is lead in lipstick.
I'm grateful to my colleague from Mid-Multnomah County for bringing that to the attention of this body. That being said, one of the many advantages of House Bill 4015 is that it contains little or no ambiguity, and it focuses entirely on schools. So unless we're planning on including lipstick as a school supply on the list, I think we're safe.
Additional question?
Would you yield to another question?
To my colleague from Mid-Multnomah, absolutely.
The courier will yield to a question.
Are you indicating that students that attend our schools don't use lipstick?
Sir, I'm the parent of 5 teenage daughters. The chances of my thinking that are slim to none. But no, it is not within the purview of the state to determine which of those. Actually, House Bill 4153, on which I also testified, did refer specifically to a desire to have OHA list the toxic chemicals and contaminants found in cosmetics. However, that bill did not quite make it out of committee, so we don't have an opportunity to address that directly.
Thank you. To the bill.
To the bill, please.
You know, this bill really troubles me. All these studies that we've seen nationwide about lead in lipstick and no mention of it in this bill, and not even lipstick on pigs. I'm going to have a hard time voting for it.
Recognize Senator Chris Telfer, please.
Question of the carrier?
Would the carrier yield to a question, please?
Absolutely.
The carrier will yield to a question.
Thank you. Will this bill make it illegal for minors to consume lead pencils or nails?
Jesus. Oh.
I am very grateful to my colleague from sunny Central Oregon for bringing that question to our attention. Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you.
I recognize Senator Chuck Thompson, please.
Question of the carrier,
Would the
please.
carrier, would Senator Chuck Thompson yield to a question, please?
One moment, please. I just want to clarify my answer to my colleague from sunny Central Oregon.
Senator, would you please respond yes to the fact that you will respond?
Oh,
to-
yes,
Okay.
certainly.
So please, get your
May I?
question,
I
please.
apologize. Were lead pencils to still be legal,
What?
then it would make it unacceptable for children to consume them. But fortunately, it becomes less of an issue in that regard. Senator Thompson.
Yes, I saw something last night. It was a good thing this bill's here on the floor.
Are you
today.
now speaking to the bill, or you're asking another question?
Well, I asked once, and then she went to Senator Telfer and skipped right
No.
over me. So I
Senator-
was asking
Senator,
one
speak-
more-
I think
Yes,
you're-
I have a question for.
We have another question. Would your carrier yield,
Didn't you
please?
get to ask a one first?
To my colleague from District 26, without objection.
Please ask your question.
Answer it or ask it? Ask it.
Do what you're going to do, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I was very disturbed last night, and like I said, it was a good thing this bill's on the floor today, so I have a very good question for you. I saw a YouTube video last night, and it showed hundreds of kids walking around neighborhoods gnawing on the side of homes. And this is, not only is this issue of defacing public property, it's a thing that started on the East Coast and it's moving west. And nobody's done anything to stop this. And I wondered if this bill would get the information on the web and tell these kids what a dangerous thing this is. They could actually get lead poisoning by gnawing on the side of homes. Will this bill take care of that?
I am very grateful to my colleague from District 26 for bringing up this disturbing trend. And it is an epidemic in parts of the country that we must do everything within our power to prevent in the beautiful Oregon. I have absolute confidence that this bill will educate parents in a way that will help them explain clearly and without contradiction to their children the incredible risks posed by this dangerous behavior and will help stem the risk of this epidemic in our beautiful state.
To the bill?
To the bill, please.
I, unlike most of my colleagues here, will probably vote yes, because that was such a great answer, but I reserve the right to vote no. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Ellen Bates, please.